Hi all, Karen and
Pluto.
here for Karen and Bluto's Not Another Review channel with another movie review. I just bumped the table here that we have the laptop sitting on. So
That's not good.
Bluto bailed on me on this one, even though it was a short one.
How long?
Hour and a half.
I was probably doing something else.
And you were sleeping.
So I was doing something else.
Yeah, you were sleeping.
That's something else.
So this review is Brightburn. It came out in 2019. It's rated R. I was really looking forward to seeing this because this kind of, for me, I always equated it to if Superman arrived on Earth and he was evil, because that's
He should have always been evil.
basically this way this movie goes. And I'm going to tell you, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie before I even get into the review. So basically, we start. There's a farm at night, and there's this couple making out, talking about, No, kind of talking about how they want to have a baby and everything. Well, they hear a crash outside. The power goes out. So they go and investigate it, and it cuts away to this video of this little baby boy through the years, and it comes up that it's 10 years later.
That was quick.
Mom is getting Brandon, who was the little baby in the video, ready for school. They kind of have their little morning routine of hide and go seek and some other stuff.
He has superpowers.
So then we cut away to school.
Sorry.
Yeah, he doesn't know that yet.
Oh, see.
They cut away to school, and he's kind of doodling this image. If you've seen the Brightburn cover, I think it's on there with like the double B's back to back.
No, sorry.
And there's kids always making fun of him and everything with stuff. Later that evening,
like typical school.
He's at home sleeping, and there's something reacting out in the barn. It's glowing red and everything, and kind of causing him to have issues because he basically starts to have like seizure-like activity, and his eyes open and they're red. And he goes and climbs out the window and basically goes to the barn. Well, Mom eventually finds him out the barn. He's trying to break into this padlock area in the barn. She's like, oh my God, and eventually, like, she gets there and he's trying to break these chains and he's speaking in some language, and she eventually gets him to come out of what's going on. And he's like, how did I get out of here? What's going on? And he talks about hearing voices or something.
He's insane.
And everything. So, like, Mom starts getting concerned because she's like, he's out of the barn. We can't have him finding out the truth. So,
how'd you not know you didn't have superpowers? You think you would know? Okay.
I guess not right away. So, anyways, his dad says about talking to him. So, he's helping his dad, and his dad's talking about, adopting him being the best time of his life and everything else. We couldn't have kids, and you just came to us, kind of going on like, it's all good. So he tells Brandon to go ahead and mow the lawn. Well, he can't get the mower to start, and the one time he goes to start it, he ends up throwing it. And he's standing there like, what the hell happened?
Really funny.
So he goes over and sees it's upside down, destroyed, but the blade's still moving. So he kind of looks at his hand and is like, I wonder, sticks his hand in, and the blade breaks, and he doesn't get injured. So we go further along in the movie. Brandon and his family are having a birthday celebration at some local restaurant they're at. It's his 12th birthday. And his aunt and uncle, who are his mom's sister and brother-in-law, get him a rifle for his birthday. And Dad gets kind of upset because he was like, this is something he wanted to do. He wanted to have more responsibility. And he kind of takes it off of Brandon, and Brandon starts becoming very defiant. So they're like, okay, that's it. We're going.
Okay, going where?
They leave. Brandon and his parents end up leaving because of the way Brandon's being. Well, then it goes to he's in his bedroom, and his parents are talking. They're like, don't you remember how we were at that age? We were, and they're talking about how they were like sneaking out and I think drinking and doing other things at that age that he's not doing. Yeah. So they decide to do a family getaway.
Okay.
And so they're like, okay, we're going to go camping. We haven't gone camping in a while. So they're packing to go camping. I guess it's the day after.
Camping's fun.
And Brandon's sitting there eating, and he ends up chewing up a metal fork. And he's looking like, how the heck did I did this?
For his teeth.
So his mom's telling him, too, you need to get this jacket and everything. Well, he doesn't go and get it. So she goes up to his room to get it. And here they look in between the mattresses, and he has these lingerie pictures. And they're like, oh, we're coming at that age. Well, as they're going through, too, eventually there's some of these lingerie pictures, but then there's also pictures of like the human anatomy. And they're like, what the heck? I can understand this, but what's this? And
so they something Ted Bundy would look at.
Yeah, well, the dad's like, don't worry, I'll talk to him while we're on the trip.
Yeah, don't worry.
Everything
He's
about
cool.
that.
So, he's not a psychopath or anything.
While they're out with everything going, Dad has the birds and the bees talk with him. And he's just like, okay, whatever. So
I always knew about
that night when they're sleeping, Brandon leaves the tent and goes to the house of one of his classmates that he kind of has a crush on.
Ooh.
And actually kind of freaks her out because he's like in her room and he's like, oh my God. Like she's like, this is so weird and everything. Well,
he's just being romantic.
Yeah, well then eventually he leaves when the girl's mother shows up and can't find him. And then
I would too.
Brandon's parents start freaking out because they're like, oh my God, where is he? He's not in the tent.
Mother's home. So, out the window I go.
Yeah, so his parents are looking for him, and then he shows back up and he's like, I was taking a pee. What's the big deal?
Taking a pee.
Yeah, that's why they say he was gone.
Okay.
So they eventually get to the school. They go back. They're at school. Brandon's off coloring to the side, and it turns out Brandon's aunt, the mom's sister, is the guidance counselor at the school.
Convenient.
And she's kind of talking to her about like the pictures they found, what's going on. And her sister basically said, you're overreacting. He's 12 years old. They get curious about stuff like that.
I was just stuff like that when I was 10.
So she's like, yeah, maybe I am, whatever. And I'm scratching my ear.
Oh, let you fix your hair.
She goes over, sees Brandon doodling these
goes
bees.
Overseas.
No, Mom walks over to get Brandon to leave.
She goes overseas.
Well, she goes over and sees.
Oh!
Brandon doing this doodle with the bee, the backwards bee and the frontwards bee that kind of becomes a symbol for him.
That's his logo.
And she says, oh, well, that's interesting because Mom's also an artist in addition to working. And he kind of like freaks out on her, like, why are you like sneaking up on me? And she's like, whatever. So later, Dad's putting the gun away that Brandon got for his birthday in like their locked gun cabinet, and he hears the chickens freaking out. So he takes the gun, goes out figuring there's a fox or something harassing the chickens because they have a big farm. And Brandon's kind of standing there, and the chickens are freaking out because of Brandon. And Dad's like, what are you doing? What's going on? And he's like, oh, and he's like, you should be in bed. You're not supposed to be out here. So he eventually gets Brandon back in the house. Well, during the night, all this weird stuff starts happening around the farm with some things. And then the next morning, Dad finds the chickens all dead.
I was saying, weird stuff around the farm with a kid who likes that stuff?
Yeah.
That could be weird.
And Dad starts accusing that it was Brandon because he was out there the night before and they were freaking out. And the mom says, no, it's a fox, it's a wolf, whatever. But the way the fence was torn down and everything, it wouldn't have been an animal.
He was out there because he likes chicks.
So, at school, they're doing gym class and they're doing an exercise called Willows in the Wind, where somebody
never did that.
Yeah, I never heard of this either, but it's basically somebody stands in the middle and your classmates it's like a trust exercise. They're supposed to push you around and you're supposed to trust that they're going to help you and protect, like not let you fall. So eventually, it's Brandon's turn and he starts going towards the classmate that he stalked into her room the other night. And she freaks out, screams, and moves away. And then he falls on the ground.
Why is it when a boy likes a girl, it's stalking?
And
a girl likes a guy,
she calls him like, all the other kids start making fun. She's like, he's a pervert. He's this. And
no, he's not.
She's like, he was in my room last night. He's like, no, I was. Like going on. And the gym teacher kind of yells at her and says, help him up.
Is the gym teacher male or female?
Male.
Okay.
So she reaches down to help him and he crushes her hand. And basically, it comes out like she's at school. The girl's mother's at school. His parents are at school, and they're talking, and we're like, it was going on, and she's like, they're fighting back and forth, and the mother of the girl goes, well, you don't even know where he came from, and she goes, well, I'm sorry. Like the mom's like, well, I'm sorry, I couldn't get pregnant. Kind of arguing back and forth, and Brandon ends up getting suspended from school, is what it comes down to, because the police are there, and the mom's like, I'm pressing charges. He goes, for what? So it's kind of.
I got suspended a lot.
Why doesn't that surprise me?
I was sleeping in detention, so I got suspended.
The parents are eventually at home. Brandon's up in his room. This is later after school. And they're discussing that even though Brandon looks like us, meaning human, we got to remember he is not human. So something in the barn starts acting up and calling to Brandon again, and he goes back to the barn. I can't remember if he finds the spaceship at this point or not.
His spaceship.
Yeah, that's how he arrived on Earth.
Well, he crashed too.
Yeah, he crashed.
See, it's not just me.
Mom starts researching things that happened over Brightburn, Kansas. That's where they live.
Brightburn.
Yeah, Brightburn, Kansas.
So that's what the BB means.
Yeah. Well, it's also Brandon something because his last name begins with a B.
Oh, convenient.
Yeah. And she's sitting there and she sees the red light coming from the barn. So she goes out, sees Brandon basically levitating over the ship saying, and he's wording because the ship's talking to him. And he's saying over and over, take the, and then all of a sudden it drops him and he gets cut on the ship. And that's the first time he's ever been injured in his life.
Wow.
And he looks at his mom and goes, ask who he is. So his mom basically does this explanation that they prayed for a baby and he arrived on Earth as an answer to their prayers. And Brandon gets upset that he was lied to. Like he knew he was adopted, but he didn't know basically to the extent. Because they basically tell him like they didn't go through an adoption agency. You just kind of crashed in our backyard and we.
You did me.
Yep.
You adopted me.
So basically.
I don't have superpowers.
Brandon starts to learn that he has these powers.
Other than eat a lot.
And he realizes the voices are telling him to take the world.
Cool.
So he eventually goes back to the classmate's house that he hurt, and she's like freaking out because she's like, I'm not supposed to be around you. Yeah. She's like, I'm not supposed to be around you. I'm not supposed to talk to you. And he basically goes, apologizes and takes flowers. And he goes, that's okay. I've learned what I need to do now. And, we can be friends. And he said, my mom won't let it. And he goes, don't worry. I will take care of that. So
she's a killer.
Basically, he goes after the class. The classmate's mom is a waitress at the restaurant they had the birthday party at. So basically, he goes to the restaurant and messes the place up, and she goes missing. So the police are trying to figure out what's going on. He leaves. He does that BB symbol on the windows and everything, like it's his calling card.
Yep.
But then the next morning, they're yelling up to him and saying about being late for school. And he comes downstairs, even though like he was upset the night before, and he's like, "No, I'm fine. I'm fine with everything. Don't worry about it." I have on here the police are looking at the restaurant. Classmate's mom has not been found. He has a meeting with the guidance counselor the next day, who's his aunt, because she's supposed to be meeting with him to discuss what he did to his classmate and everything. And he basically shows no remorse, and she gets kind of concerned about it. He kind of discussed. He goes, well, "I'm special. I'm not from here. I'm better than all of you and everything else."
Like me.
And she goes, "You're not showing any remorse, and I have to tell everybody, including the police, about this." So later that evening, we're at the aunt's house. What, especially a pain?
No, special.
Especially a pain.
I'm cute.
They're at the aunt's house. The aunt's there, and she's at her house, and all this weird stuff's going on. Like her outside motion lights are being triggered, and nobody's there. Well, eventually Brandon knocks on her door. And she's like, "What are you doing here? Do your parents know you're out? Because it's late." And he goes, it's not good to talk to anybody. It's not going to be good for you. Basically, he's
Jeez.
threatening her. And she's like, Brandon, this is not appropriate. You're not supposed to be at my house. You need to go home.
When do we get to the superhero part?
Chill.
Well, it was only an hour and a half. It's like,
he's done some of the stuff.
Oh, you must have skipped that. Okay.
Oh, no, I thought it was her husband. It's her fiance. The aunt's fiance is out drinking with Brandon's dad, and he eventually leaves. He's kind of drunk. He gets home eventually and finds Brandon is hiding in the closet and says,
That's funny.
What are you doing? I'm taking you home. What's going on? You know? So, basically him and Brandon kind of get into things in the while he's driving, and then Brandon eventually leaves the truck, and his uncle's like freaking out, like, oh my God, like, because he's doing all this stuff that a 12-year-old shouldn't be doing.
Okay.
Well, eventually, the uncle tries to escape, and Brandon picks up the back of the truck, drops it down on the road to the point the steering wheel pierced through the mouth of this guy and kills him. And basically, Brandon leaves his symbol on the side of the road, even though everyone thinks it's just a car accident because he was drunk.
Usually somebody else's symbol.
Yeah.
Like a big S.
So,
sorry.
I'm trying to look, Brandon. He dies.
Oh, well,
Brandon, almost probably an hour at this point.
Wow.
Well, then Brandon never showed up home after school. So mom's calling around to see if how the appointment went with his aunt today at the guidance counselor, what's going on. So then Brandon eventually shows up and says he was playing soccer with the others, invited him to play soccer. They started bullying him and he walked home.
Well, if he knows he has his powers, why didn't he beat him up?
Well, no, he was just making that excuse because he was out killing the other guy.
Oh, he should have killed them.
Yeah. So, and he had changed his clothes and everything because that's what they say. That's not the same outfit. And he goes, well, I got blood on it, so I changed it. And then his dad's going on. He's like, he's lying. And his mom's like, well, what are we supposed to do? And he goes, I know he's lying, everything like this. At this point, Dad kind of has a flashback to the night they found him, and it's kind of a lot of blood, dream stuff going on.
Blood dreams.
Eventually, his aunt calls Brandon's parents to say about her fiance being killed. Dad starts blaming. He's like, Brandon did it. I know he has something to do with it. And Mom's like, he's 12 years old. He had nothing, going on about everything. So the parents eventually do tell Brandon about his uncle being killed, and he's kind of like, oh, okay, very nonchalant about it. Well, the dad starts accusing him of lying, and basically Brandon uses his power and throws the dad into a china cupboard. And the parents are arguing over what to do regarding Brandon. And I have here the police are the police are working trying to solve the case because they're investigating the accident.
My writing is horrible. And
I'm scribbling while I'm doing it, and the one police officer finds the BB there again.
BB.
So, Dad eventually comes around and says, "Okay, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm going to take him out this weekend. Let him know I love him and I'm his dad."
Oh.
So they leave. Then the sheriff shows up and asks Mom about the signature that was left behind with the double B's and ask him to, basically Mom's like, no, he had nothing to do with this and you need to leave if you don't have a warrant. Well, then Mom finds the notebook he was doodling in and realizes
they're all right.
He was in on this.
I had your first CD.
Who?
Warrant. Sorry.
So, Dad and Brandon are in the woods. Brandon's walking ahead, and Dad's talking, saying about how he loves him and everything. Well, he loads his gun and shoots Brandon in the head.
And he probably laughed like, ha, 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 you can't kill me.
It didn't work. So, basically, Brandon goes after Dad and puts his hand on him and eventually fries him to death.
Can he shoot lasers out his eyes?
I can't remember if he did that or not, but...
He should have blown up his head.
Maybe he did that. I can't remember. But he ends up killing Dad with his powers.
Cool.
So, Mom tries calling Dad and tells him he was right. Brandon is in on all this. You need to come home and everything. Here, Brandon's on the phone. And she's like, "Where's your father?" She goes, he's gone. And starts, and then here he's right outside the house. So he starts attacking the house, messing the house up. He's flying all over the place. He has this like,
why don't you just blow it up?
Costume thing on that he made up that's on the cover of the movie. She calls 911, and the sheriff that was there earlier and another deputy go back to the house. And basically they're trying to get in. Well, Brandon comes flying by at one point, takes out the one sheriff and kills him. The other deputy goes running in, trying to protect his mother. Well, she eventually gets killed. So Mom's trying to figure out what she can do to stop Brandon. So she goes out to the bar. She goes out to the bar and drinks.
Like you would do.
She goes out to the bar and remembering that he got cut off the ship. So she figures, okay, the ship is something off the ship is what can kill him.
That ship has sailed.
Yeah, so she goes out, takes a piece off the ship. They did this hide and seek game earlier in the movie where they would whistle back and forth to each other. So she starts doing that and Brandon responds. And he comes and she's talking to him and saying about how much of a blessing he was and she loves him.
Oh.
Well, then she's trying to kill him from behind, realizes what she's doing and stops her. And
how would she kill him?
There was this slab of metal. Well, no, it was metal off the ship, which cut him earlier in the movie.
So the ship is like his kryptonite?
Basically.
Oh, okay, I follow.
So he kind of looks at her, basically flies up into the sky, up into high altitude, and drops her to her death.
That sounds like it'd be funny.
Yeah, he was just like, "Peace out, Mom."
Did she go splat?
Apparently, because then there's a plane coming towards him.
And
he's kind of looking at it. Well, then the next day, a passenger plane had crashed on their farm, and it ends up he was the only survivor. That it even says that his parents were killed and everything, so he's the only one that survived.
Convenient.
And then during the credits, they're showing all these news reports about this being and all the destruction he's doing in Brightburn, Kansas.
Does he get the check?
I don't know. It doesn't really say anything about that, but like I thoroughly enjoyed this. I mean, it was kind of, it was an hour and a half, so it wasn't that long.
It was like 3 hours.
No, and I mean, it's kind of, when you think about, like I said, it's kind of the opposite of what Superman is. You know, because Superman came to Earth and was good, where
he wanted to help everybody.
Brandon was like, I'm supposed to take over the world.
I'd be like,
that's kind of why I was kind of excited to see this. Finally glad I got to see it. Can't remember if I got this off of Netflix or if I rented it at Redbox, but either way, got to finally see it. So it's one I probably will buy at some point because I would definitely watch this again. I did really enjoy it. And the way it ended does leave opening for a sequel as far as I'm concerned, but I don't know. Maybe they'll do Brightburn versus Superman. I don't know if I could do that anyways, but anyways, that's it for this review. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe. I'm getting hiccups. Bell icon so you know when I post new content. Help share the page. I would greatly appreciate it. Subscribers, thank you. You guys are awesome. I appreciate you all. Keep coming back for more. Amazon wishlist is posted. Check it out if you want to help send us a movie. If there's something you want us to review, let me know. I'll see if I can locate it. If not, I'll post it if you want to send it. That'd be awesome. Check out my other channel. I'm like losing my train of thought today. K-Doll Games, Toys, and More. Toy and game reviews. This guy on occasion. Oh, you nodded. You agreed with me. No, you nodded.
I didn't know you're looking.
Anyways, we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.